But we need to get real serious about figuring out what's in that black box.
Right. Yes, sir.
My name is Mitch Stripling. I'm the director of the Emergency Planning Unit at the New York City Department of Health and Mental Hygiene. And obviously, we have a vested interest in the accuracy of threat analysis. I have two questions. I'll try and keep them brief. Peter Bergen, as you guys know, had an editorial and some other comments questioning some of the findings of the report. Specifically, he cited a different case study from the Ivans thing, saying, well, it took this major scientist so long and he could only come up with this much. Anthrax and the cessation of chlorine as a use as a weapon in Iraq, saying that these concerns might be overblown and we should focus on more traditional terrorist attacks. I was just wondering if you could respond to that. And the second question is probably, hopefully lighter, which is the roadmap for implementation of the recommendations that you guys made. I think it's a great set of recommendations. I wonder if you've heard any hints, allegations, or things left unsaid about how they might be implemented by the new administration.
You want me to take the first one?
Good question.
Okay. Look, I don't think this is an either-or proposition. The Commission was focused, as was their charter, on the nuclear and biological issue. There's no question, if you're asking me what I think the greatest immediate threat is, I think the greatest immediate threat to our safety and security here in the U.S. is a more traditional type attack. But I think the Commission is also right that what we see is an increasing threat in this area. And so this is, we got to be able to walk and chew gum. We got to be able to worry about, prevent, and respond to the near-term problem of a lower-end, backpack bomb problem. But we also have to have a long-term strategy that works in the medium and long term on reducing the likelihood of a terrorist attack using weapons of mass destruction. So I think to your point, it's both in the first question.
Yeah, I guess I'm not familiar with the criticism you referred to, but I mean, I have trouble taking comfort from the anthrax attack on the U.S. Congress. I mean, apparently that was essentially a Unabomber type guy who had the capability to do this, and the delivery mechanism for his biological weapon was the United States Postal Service, standard envelopes. It doesn't require a whole lot of creativity to come up with much more effective delivery systems that can disperse the agent much more widely and infect a lot more people. And an organized terrorist group that set out to kill a lot of people with anthrax, with the very same quantity of anthrax that this one individual produced, could create a lot more victims, a lot more casualties.
How about the question of your implementation? Are you getting any sense that anybody is actually taking to heart your recommendations, in the new administration in particular?
I think we were a bipartisan commission, and in fact, the majority of our members were Democrats. I would expect a few of them, well, a couple of them have already landed in the administration, and I think before it's over, most or all of at least the Democrats on our commission may end up in the Obama administration. So, they will have their own personal impact. I think we made some policy recommendations, and I think they will certainly be looked at and to a certain degree adopted. We also made some bureaucratic recommendations about restructuring the White House. One of our recommendations, I never talked to Fran about this, but one of our recommendations was to merge the National Security Council staff and the Homeland Security Council staff. My understanding is that they intend to do that. We addressed a question about how to implement a law that was passed 2 years ago requiring the appointment of essentially a weapons of mass destruction terrorism czar. I think our recommendation on that is likely to be adopted by the Obama administration. In fact, I think I read a press account that one of our commissioners may become that particular individual within the new administration. We made some recommendations about changing the way Congress does oversight of the intelligence community. I guess I'm a little bit less optimistic that will happen based on my 10 plus years working for the United States Congress. Congress is good about reforming the rest of the government. It's much less good about reforming itself.
Yeah, it was reminiscent of the Department of Homeland Security being set up with an enormous amount of dislocation and reorganization. Not a single one of the recommendations of the 9/11 Commission with respect to congressional reform being adopted, I think. Yes, sir.
Ross Weiner. Regarding the radiological threat, every customs officer at the border is wearing a dosimeter. And has any investigation been done about basically why not every New York City police officer could you speak more about the Homeland Security training regimens? What should be done by Homeland Security? What could be done by the military? What should be done at a state, local level? We're one block away from an armory here that the National Guard was kicked out of, and there's been, while this threat is ramped up, a lot of the same real estate interest that basically brought on the current fiscal crisis was actually degrading our capacity to respond. Is there any hope for reversing any of